Spoiler alert, the following podcast includes discussions on film that may potentially, intentionally or inadvertently, reveal plot twists, character traits, story details, up to and including endings that might otherwise be considered spoilers. Proceed at your own risk.
You're listening to Moviesucktastic.
I'm not crazy, I just don't give a fuck!
You were born with an asshole, Doris. You don't need Chuck.
I know it. It all sounds like some bad movie.
Welcome to Moviesucktastic.
Yeah.
The one that doesn't know how to mute is Scott, and the one chastising the other is Joey.
I didn't chastise you. I didn't think so. This is
You should.
episode, what I want to clarify actually, is this episode 213. Not like what I said last week, where last week was episode 213.
You got it wrong.
Last week was 212. This is 213. Anyway.
Right.
Check out that
And-
old font. Oh, man.
and
The opening of the film, it's got that old school kind of, like goldish kind of font, gothic.
supposed to have like fire, glancing off of it or reflecting into it, and
Yeah.
it doesn't work.
It's just really dark. And
Yeah.
then they show the comet going towards Earth, and of course it's being narrated at that point, which is
The citizens of Earth are going to get an extra Christmas present this year. It's like Rod Serling's introducing the movie,
I mean, it's just
and totally unneeded. There's no need for that. It's almost like it was an afterthought. Oh, we better explain what this movie is before it starts. No need for any of that narration.
nothing, none of it.
It could all have just started with, like, comet party and everything going on. Everything's explained in the first 10 minutes of the film. You don't need the narrator to explain to you what's happening.
They just have this creepy kind of narration overtone to it, and I think it was an afterthought. It was like, yeah, we got to put something there.
Definitely. Yeah.
It wasn't what they planned from the beginning.
It really feels tacked on. It's not needed. It's horrible. Horrible. So it's not off to a good start with Night of the Comet.
No. This is the opening of the film too, where the theater owner is he's trying to sell one of those stupid alien antennas. He goes, this is 950. The young lady over here is wearing a 750. This is much higher quality, of course.
And that can't have been scripted. That's got to be like an ad lib thing where he's just like, all right, just like, I don't even know if they planned on like using the audio originally. He's like, you're trying to sell them this stuff.
Right.
This is
He's like,
so
yeah, no problem. I sold cars for 12 years. This is easy. Just go with it. It was interesting. My wife actually watched this film with me because this is one of her favorite films.
I grew up with this film. Yeah.
Yeah. And I told her, I said, we're going to watch Night of the Comet. It's one of the films we're going to review. She's like, okay, I'm there. I'm going to watch it. And if anyone listens to the show, they've heard me say that she never watches any of the challenges with me. Ever. Scott makes Holly watch them. And she does. Mare, my wife, just never. So when she heard that we were actually going to review this, she watched it with me. And she loves this movie. This movie can't do no wrong. And in rewatching it, Scott, he said he took some notes. And rewatching this, I noticed a couple of things. I'm like, I never noticed that before.
Well, I mean, the one it's not necessarily not noticed, but at the beginning it opens up, as you said, it's in the movie theater. Everybody's having this end of the world comet party, and one of our two main actresses, the characters, Regina, also Reg,
Right.
which is interesting, and we'll get to that. She's the worst employee ever. She's playing video games while she should be working.
Yeah.
She gives lip to her boss. Her boss is kind of laid back though, so he doesn't care, and she's banging the projectionist.
Which is what's his face? That's
Holy shit!
Uncle Jack from Breaking Bad. He was in. He had a small part in Kill Bill. He was the guy that was letting people rape Uma Thurman. Beatrice's character, Frank.
Uncle Frank. No, yeah, I'm watching this,
Jack.
and I'm like,
Uncle
I recognize
Jack
him.
It was Uncle Jack from Breaking Bad.
Uncle Frank.
Jack.
I'm almost positive it was Uncle Frank.
Well, you're wrong.
I wrote down Uncle Frank.
Well, I don't know who the fuck Uncle Frank is, but
Sure it's Uncle Jack?
It was Uncle Jack.
Really? So if we look that up right now, it's Uncle Jack?
Let's screech the show to a fucking halt.
Because I could have sworn it was Uncle Frank.
Yeah, because I'd be afraid of an Uncle Frank.
No, it's an Uncle Jack. You're right. I don't know where I got Frank from.
I don't know where the fuck you got that from.
But I thought I recognized him. I'm like, you know what? He looks like a young version of that skeevy porn actor. You know the one I'm talking about, with the long hair. And I was like, where is this guy from? And I'm just scrolling through his IMDb credits. It's like I couldn't fucking believe it was Uncle Jack.
You mean like John Horner? Not John Horner.
I'm not going to get into it, but you know what I'm talking about.
Do I?
And
I'm trying to think of all the skeevy, long-haired porno stars.
Well,
Obviously, this is an 80s porno star.
No, he's around today.
He's still
That's
working?
why I said a young version of him.
Oh.
I'm not going to, again, you're sidetracking.
I'm sidetracking.
Anyway, yeah, I was blown away because, like, holy fuck, he's, like, old and miserable in that. And, like, I grew up with this film. That means I'm old and miserable. This is ridiculous. This isn't good.
Yeah. I mean, he's like only in his early to mid 20s in this, so yeah, he's pushing his late 50s, early 60s at this point.
I mean, all the 80s stuff in this didn't make me feel old. Him as a teenager, that made me feel old. Holy shit.
Yeah, he's so fucking young.
And so when she spends, and like everybody's having this comet party. Now the whole basic plot is the comet comes through, featuring some of the worst comet special effects ever.
Oh, this is the newscaster.
This
guy is great. The Newfoundland.
Well, I just like the fact that, like, you can tell on his face, like, he knows something horrible is going on, but he's like,
yeah, because like at the end, he's like, we look like we have a pretty good crowd out here, and he's just kind of looking over his shoulders. It's like a schizophrenic
job. Yeah, everybody's having fun. It's like they're all dying. We're all gonna die, but you can't risk your career in a situation like that.
That's right.
I don't think I ever really fully noticed that. Like, he knew.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
He's in reports. Yeah, everything's down in Newfoundland. It's like it's sweeping across the globe.
We've lost radio
now
and television
for the countdown.
We've lost radio and television communication down there. Newfoundland.
That's not good.
Yeah, he's like Newfoundland or Newfoundland.
He says Newfoundland.
Newfoundland or Newfoundland.
Yeah. And so also Reg's sister Samantha, or Sam. And what I find interesting is the two female characters both have boy names, technically, male names. Regina is short for Reggie. They call her Reggie or Reg. Samantha is called Sam or Sammy throughout the film. Now, I think it makes sense. I think it's actually decent screenwriting because it's revealed that they have a father who's military and overseas, and they're currently being watched by their stepmother, who's a whore.
Yeah, big time.
And so the idea of a military man having two girls and giving them like semi-boys names, that actually is like good writing. I like that.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. It seems like there's this subplot that they might have gotten into that they just cut short, but they kept the boy names.
And if you think about it, I mean, the whole idea is they survive this comet radiation because they're in like a steel or lead enclosure when it happens, so they're protected from the radiation.
Right.
Now, immediately when I start going down this line, okay, their father's overseas. I forgot about that when I first saw the film. They're both named boy names. You know, he taught them how to fight and use guns and stuff, which is great to get. You know, so when you have these girls with Uzis and stuff, you don't have to like, well, how'd they learn? So, all right, they got some background training. But if they wanted to do a sequel after this had been done, they could have had the father was like in a tank during it, and so he survived.
Sure.
Or something,
it could have been
or something
10
like
different scenarios. He survives.
Yeah, in the military, in Banana Land, as his lovely whore wife put it. And one of my favorite lines in the film is when Sam gets in a fight with what was the stepmother Doris. Stepmother Doris, where he says, "You were born with an asshole, Doris. You don't need Chuck." And then the wonderful slap fight after that. It's like, that's a great scene.
Yeah, and she goes to Chuck. She goes, "Oh, I'll never marry a man again with kids." It's like, what?
Whore. Such a whore.
Biggest whore on the block, and the whole block's out there.
It's like, does she plan on Daddy not coming home? What the fuck?
Well, she says that. She goes, if he doesn't get killed, he'll blame me for whatever happens to you out in Banana Land.
Did he show her like fingers crossed when she said that?
Yeah.
Please. Wow. Harsh. Not a nice lady.
No, not at all.
And gets billing over Mary Warrenoff. What the fuck?
She was billed over her, huh?
Yeah. And she's in the film for like a fraction of the time that Mary is.
That's right.
Mary Warrenoff deserves top billing because she's awesome.
I love Mary Warrenoff.
Yes, I do too.
If this was a straight up film, and I was challenging you, I think I might have to go Nomads just to get another Mary Warrenoff film in there. But this is a This is a listener audience choice challenge, however we want to call it. So it does not
listener
apply.
Appreciation.
Appreciated.
Right. Mary Warrenoff, great. I would even go now where Mary Warrenoff, she, as far as I know, she recommended what's his name? Michael Bowen? Not Michael Bowen, the other guy, Robert Beltran.
Oh, really?
He plays Hector because he starred with her in the few years before in Eating Raoul.
Oh, that was what? Only a year earlier, right? Eating Raoul
like a year or
was
two ago, not that far.
82,
And
83?
before that, right? And before that, I recognized him immediately from that. Robert Beltran was in Lone Wolf McQuaid.
Oh, was he?
He's Chuck Norris's sidekick. Lone Wolf McQuaid, one of my personal favorite Chuck Norris films. I don't have many of them. I grew up with that one because he drives a truck.
Right.
And they bury him alive, but he drives out. It's a great one.
And
I love
Robert Beltran still alive.
Yeah,
good.
But I think, but oddly enough, I think he peaked with Night of the Comet because I don't know of anything major he was in. I think it's the most popular thing he was in, time-wise, and then after that, he just kind of like drops off.
He's still working.
He's still working, but I don't think he's done anything that people remember as well as this.
Probably not. Although, as of now, he's got 3 projects. He's got Star Trek Renegades.
Oh, yeah.
Resilient 3D. Oh, boy, 3D. And The Circuit. And he did some voice work for the animated film Freebirds.
Right, but I mean, like, everything else, he did a lot of TV work after this. But, after Night of the Comet, he went right from that to an episode of Street Hawk. I mean, that's, no.
He does have a reoccurring character on Star Trek. He's been playing the same character for 20 years.
Yeah, but does anybody remember him from it? I don't know.
Well, the Trekkies do.
I'm just saying, like, if you, like, Night of the Comet's the last film he did that people talk about still.
Oh, I'm sure.
So,
it's the one thing I recognize him the most from, so.
Well, that, Eating Raoul, and Lone Wolf McQuaid.
Not so much Lone Wolf McQuaid, but definitely Eating Raoul in this.
Yeah.
For you,
Eating Raoul, yeah. I was talking to Holly about it. She's like, yeah, wasn't he in like V? Wasn't he like the guy like that goes Nazi?
No.
It's like, no, I know what you're talking about. That's not him.
Are you saying they all look alike? Is that what she's saying?
I'm saying he wasn't Hispanic. in V, I don't think. That's all I'm saying. Or Mexican or whatever.
Or Mexican.
But yeah, I enjoy him in this film as I enjoyed him in the other two.
Yeah. So what ends up happening is after they spend the night in, Sam, you find out that she spends it in a lawn shed, which is interesting because most lawn sheds back then were made of steel or aluminum, and I just bought a lawn shed and put it up, and it's just made of resin and plastic. So if I hid in that, I'd be dead if the comet came around.
if you hid in there because your stepmom was slapping you around, yes.
That's right, yes. But you find out that she stayed in a lawn shed all night, which makes... I guess it makes sense. I mean, she just wanted to go somewhere else, pretend she ran away. But you
got to get her to survive. We need a film. We need characters to talk to each other.
But who's winning that night? You're in a lawn shed. And then Red, she spends the night at the movie theater.
Because she's alive. Of course she fucking won. What are you talking about?
I'm talking about it. Just take the comet, the apocalypse out of the equation.
If the comet hadn't killed everybody else on the planet, yeah, she would have had the raw end of the deal. But timing's everything.
Well,
sir.
Of course.
Yeah. No, I have to underline it again. Can't stress it enough. Worst comet effects ever.
Oh, they're awful.
At one moment, the sky flashes like leopard print.
Yeah.
So what the fuck? This is 280s. Come on, really?
And the movie, it was made for $700,000, and back in even '84, that was pretty cheap.
And it's beautifully shot.
It's very nice. This looks
beautifully
great in
shot.
HD. Great in HD.
Yeah.
A lot of the city shots are animated or drawn. You can tell, but they're done really well. So
and
because they're using a lot
of real, they stop traffic at certain points in the morning to shoot a lot of scenes. So there are real scenes as well. It's not all.
Well, even when they had real shots of the skyline, and they interjected their drawings and things of that nature, it's done because they're putting in like a red orangey type sky. Like there's this haze from the comet, this poison in the air. And they're giving the city this...
It's not the poison. It's the dust of all the people.
Correct.
It's the red dust. It's the calcium dust that was left behind when the people were disintegrated. That's what's filling the air. The air is red with the dust of the dead.
And that's why they show it, near the end of the film when it rains. You see all the dust wash away.
Which you just jump to the end. But I will say that's a brilliant scene.
Well, it's biblical in a sense. Like rain cometh and washeth away sin, things of that nature. I don't know if that's what they were going for.
No.
But, I mean, it was definitely the rain signifying a cleansing of everything.
Yeah. We'll dial back the religious overtones and say it's a kind of a cleansing, as you put it, almost a baptism of the new world. Yeah, we
the only problem is now it's infecting their water supply, but that's a whole different story.
It's calcium. It's better for you than fluoride. Now, at the beginning, when and I love the reveal too of when. What?
No, I was just going to say very quickly. This film was made during a time of when Halley's Comet was actually coming around.
Right.
When we were growing up,
off that.
And they really did feed off of it. So this thing hasn't happened in 80 or 90 years because Halley's Comet only comes around that often. And they're like, let's make a horror movie out of this. Let's scare people. What if it came and it wiped out society?
Horror film.
Well, the film actually did pretty well financially. I mean, it cost $700,000, but made $15 million at the box office.
It was a very popular film at the time.
Which I'm surprised it didn't yield a sequel.
Good. You know what? Good. Thank God. It's refreshing.
Well, I will say Kelly Maroney, who's the girl that plays Sam, she's been petitioning for a sequel for a while now, and they got very close to getting a green light for it, and it just didn't happen.
Yeah, let it lay. It's perfect the way it is.
Well, and this shouldn't make a difference. I have no idea what Kelly Maroney looks like these days, but she's in her 50s. Is it still going to work with her being in that age bracket?
I'm sure they can find some young girls, like maybe her granddaughters or granddaughters, to play along with him.
Uh-huh.
All right, Mr. Sexist.
What? No. I'm talking about a film that was popular 30 plus years ago and with the same cast. Come on, you know how much Botox and plastic surgery? It's not going to look right.
Depends.
Dude, It's not sexist. I'm just talking about what looks right.
And ageist. That's horrible.
Wow.
Now I love the reveals of when Reggie leaves the theater after her boyfriend's beaten to death by a homeless guy, which is good.
A homeless black guy.
Homeless black. What? Why does that matter?
That's the only reason I brought.
It's
the only reason I brought it up.
What the hell?
I love it too because he's like, come here.
You know who else is racist?
It's gonna rape her first. That's what's gonna happen.
You know who else is racist?
Who?
Sam, not Sam. Reggie.
Yeah, she seems pretty racist.
Because when Hector meets them, and first she's like, Hector. I was like, oh, okay, that's a bit uncalled for. And then she's like looking at his gun and says, where'd you get this? A dime store? This may be good for date night in the barrio, but if we, it's like, what? And then even he's like, date night in the barrio? Really?
This fucking army brat.
Really?
Just around AKs and.
Why don't you just call me a spick?
Uzis.
What the fuck's up with this? Get it out of your system here. What the fuck?
That's right. I get it. You would never date someone like me.
Man, well, a little bit of that '80s harshness comes through because even with her sister, late when they're shopping, she's like, he didn't make it past you on the first night. He's either a gentleman or a fag. It's like, whoa. Girls, please.
Well, she prefaces that with, "What if he's having the same problem we have?" And she's like, "What are you talking about? There's no men." And then she went with the gentleman or a fag, and it's like,
yeah,
wow. And in rewatching it, I was like, holy shit! I took it the same way. I'm like, wow. Talk about making some strides. Well, they meet him at the radio station because. Reg convinces Sam that there's a fucking problem. There aren't any people. There's no kids playing out. It's a Saturday.
And that whole scene where she's out showing her like all the bodies and the dust, it reminds me of the pilot episode of Red Dwarf.
Oh,
it's like everybody's dead, Dave. It's like, what's all this powder? Really? Like, when did Red Dwarf come out? Because that's. I don't think before that.
It wasn't before that. It was. Around the same time, 85, 86, I think.
88. Red Dwarf started in 88.
88, wow.
Yeah.
I thought it was a little earlier than that. Well, anyway, so she convinces her that there's a problem, and they're both listening to the radio, and they're like, well, this guy seems to be okay. Let's go to the radio station. And, of course, they find out that it's just a bunch of reel-to-reel tapes just going continuously. And then that's when they meet Hector.
Who heard the same thing.
He heard the same thing.
Oh, no.
Well, he came into town with some other girl, and... she got freaked out because they saw these zombie things eating a cat, and she just ran out screaming.
And during the cat eating dialogue, I never noticed before, Hector takes his gloves off twice.
Oh, you caught a continuity error?
Yeah, I wasn't even paying attention to the gloves, but then I was like, wait, he's taking them off again. Yeah, they cut away from him and they cut back, like he's pulling, because he doesn't just take them off, he like pulls each finger separately. And he takes one glove off. They cut away while he's talking, and they cut back to him again. And then both gloves are on, and he starts pulling the fingers again. It's like, come on. Little continuity. I'm not nitpicking, but it was an interesting catch. Like, oh, yeah. Now, back in the movie theater, I also like that when she leaves the theater, you see the movie poster for Death Race 2000.
I saw that. It was on the door.
She's post-apocalyptic, and Mary Warrenoff was in it.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, and when the projectionist guy, when Uncle Jack gets beaten to death by the homeless guy, the movie poster on the back of the door there is for Red Dust, which is a 1932 film.
Oh, you know what? There was a couple of other movie posters that were in the theater itself that I recognized. I wish I wrote them down.
But those two tied in specifically with the theme of the film, Red Dust, because that's what everybody became. So that I like that. I thought it was a nice little touch. It showed that they were thinking, they weren't just throwing together a film.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Now I also read that Josh Sweden has said that Night of the Comet is what inspired him to do the Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Really? Why? Because
the movie.
No, I know.
Just like I guess the tone. I guess.
Huh.
And it's interesting because when Sam comes down to the house in the morning, and she lifts up her dog's leash from a pile of red dust, and she calls the dog's name out, and the dog's name is Buffy.
Oh, I missed that.
So that's interesting.
I did fall asleep watching this last night.
You amateur. I was glued to the screen.
I was fucking tired. I had to rewatch it. And Mare says to me, she says, "You fell asleep through half the movie. You're going to have to watch this again." I'm like, no, I don't. I really don't. Yeah, I miss little things like Buffy for the dog, but you tied it in with Joss Whedon, so... But it's just like, yeah, I really don't need to watch this again. I enjoy the film, but I don't need to watch it again to review it.
I mean, it is a quintessential 80s film. I think it's why everybody loves it, too. It's like one of those 80s films that just everyone looks back on fondly.
Oh, yeah. It was a Cinemax special.
And the film really captures the 80s. Everything from the shopping malls to the big hair to the neon to that kind of synthesizer music through most of it.
Yep.
Even Girls Just Want to Have Fun during the mall shopping scene.
Yeah, I'm surprised I got that song.
I don't know, but I thought that was an early release of the song. Like it was before the album came out. Something of that nature.
It sounded slightly different than the final cut of the song.
It's like different music. Yeah, it's like different music, but the same vocals.
Yeah, you could tell it's the same song and that it's really close to the final cut, but definitely it sounded slightly different.
Yeah, so I wonder if that was like before... that song actually came out big time.
Wasn't that song also in Goonies when he's exercising, the big brother's exercising and they tie him to the chair?
Yes.
Pretty sure. And that had the music video and everything. That's just a year later. That was an MTV music video and whatnot. So
the song was released in 83.
83.
And the movie came out in 84. So the song was released while they were making the film.
Yeah, so that makes sense that it was...
So before it was big, it must have just gotten in there.
Huh, pretty neat.
And they made the movie in 85. Girls Just Want to Have Fun. So in 2 years, that song got enough clout behind it to make a whole movie based on it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hey. Well, that was the time to be a pop star, the 80s and 90s.
Oh, hang on. Oh, I'm just looking up all this interesting information. The song was first written and recorded in 1979. And her version was released in 83, so it wasn't even her song originally.
Maybe was it the 79 version that was playing?
No, because
cheaper?
She sang the version we heard. And the 79 version was written and recorded by American musician Robert Hazard.
No, never mind then.
Yeah, so... But the song was new when it came out, so it wasn't like they were like, oh, City Opera's popular, let's put this in. They got a song that sounded good, they threw it in there.
So earlier,
Sorry,
no,
it's
fine. Earlier, you had said that, or you had thought that the trailer said that it was a comedy, which it does have comedic elements. And,
yes, it does, but I wouldn't call it a comedy.
No, well, he didn't say comedy; he did say Comet. But
okay.
Like when he goes home, when he tells Reg that he's going home, and she says, "Don't go," and he's like, "Well, what do you give me?" Well, the comparison is back then she gives him Texas, and it's a little joke. If this movie was being made now, there probably would have been a sexual innuendo of some kind.
Well, the undertone was there, and the whole point was they were avoiding that.
Yeah,
and
I'm just saying now they wouldn't have. That's all.
Considering the last guy she slept with promised her $15 and didn't even give her that.
Damn Uncle Jack. What's with all the greed? But I like it when he does go home. He pulls up with the Mack truck and pulls up, thinks he hears something. He's like, "Ma!" And because he's going to his mother's house. And he runs inside and there's someone knocks on the door and he answers it. It's like, what are you doing? And it's some little creepy kid. And he's getting chased through the house. He goes, "You're lucky I like kids." It's like at any point he could have shot him in the face.
And that is almost lifted from Dawn of the Dead, the original Romero film.
Oh, that's true.
Which is the same thing with two children attacking the sniper when they go to refuel the helicopter.
Right. And then the one thing that I noticed, I guess it's not a mistake, but it was one of those, well, why did he do that moments for me? Well, when he's leaving, the other comedic element, he goes, "Oh, there goes the neighborhood." It's like, wow. But when he escapes through the window from the bathroom, he just runs down the street. It's like, why don't you just go to your truck that's parked out front?
Well, because he can get any car he wants. Everybody's dead. Everybody is dead, Dave.
But he seems pretty partial to the truck.
No, he seemed pretty fine with a nice car he drove back in.
No, I get that, but the truck, it's right there. You don't have to run down the street and try and hotwire another one.
Well, it's time to trade up.
I'm reading into it too much. I'm admitting that. But if it was me and there's a little zombie kid chasing me, I'm going to go to the nearest vehicle that I don't have to hotwire, and that's the truck right across the street.
And he's gonna eat you while you're trying to get into the truck.
Okay, so same goes for him trying to hotwire a car then.
Well, that blocks away. The kid can't follow him. I mean,
blocks
come on.
away?
I think you're really reading way too much into it.
No.
It was a fun little scene. You have to ruin
it.
He
didn't have to hotwire the truck. It's ready to go. He didn't steal it.
Speaking of fun little scenes, here's one that it's not fun little scene.
Yeah.
The film loses points for the opening narration. It also loses points for the double dream sequence.
Oh, yeah. When I saw that, I'm like, yeah, Scott's going to have a real problem with this. I forgot about the double dream sequence.
I didn't. It always bothered me.
Well, here's the thing. Also, when I watched it last night and that happened, I'm like, well, if I was challenging Scott something, I might go Raising Cain. It's like the double dream sequence. It's like, ooh.
Yeah, the dream wake up scare is bad enough, but when it happens in a dream within a dream, this isn't the fucking Inception. You know, it's oh, God. Anyway, I'll skip past that. Also, this film has no love for the MAC-10.
The MAC-10?
Yeah, the gun they're using.
Oh.
They just, every chance they get, they shit talk the MAC-10. It's kind of uncalled for, I think. I don't know. It's like Dad would have bought us Uzis.
Yeah, they're army brats. What do you expect?
Now, all right. The hero of this film.
The hero.
Willie, King of the Stock Boys. Fuck, what a performance.
I love Willie.
Willie's the man.
Turn that shit off.
I'm not crazy. I just don't give a fuck.
Yeah, they got a fuck in there. Because there's a couple of other scenes in the film where they probably had fuck, and they voiced over different words. Like when she's on the roof with Sam and Reg are on the roof, and she tells her that she's jealous because she eyes up and the words that they used were freaking guy, and you could tell it was a voiceover. So I'm sure the film had a lot more fucks in there that they cut back to get a PG-13.
As they should have. This film really needed to be PG-13. There's nothing hard about it to be an R.
Well, and if it was an R, it would have. This is one of those scenarios where you could absolutely agree that it wouldn't have made as much money as it did if it wasn't a PG-13.
Right.
You want to get as many asses in seats as possible, and if it's an R, no parent is taking their kid to see this.
Right. But Willie's the man.
I love that scene in the mall.
Let's play a game called Scary Noises. Just for a little bit part. I mean, you can't talk about the film without talking about Willie.
Good old Willie.
Willie's the man. Oh, man. Fucking. I want to see more of his story.
Yeah, right?
Of course, we can't because the think tank goons come in and ruin everything. Now, Mary Warnoff...
Which they get exposed.
Mary, you're jumping ahead. Mary Warnoff and the think tank gang are like a think tank that knew this was going to happen, so they sealed themselves off in their bunker to outlast the storm, but they left the air vents open.
Yeah, that's the ventilation vent.
Yeah.
So they get exposed, but they get exposed just a little bit, so it takes a lot longer for them to turn, so to say.
Right. So, and what basically is if you were partially exposed, your body slowly disintegrates, and at a certain point you become like a zombie just because you lose all the moisture in your brain, and when that happens, it's a lost cause.
That's right. And even Mary Warnoff, she's pleading with him. It's like, yeah, I think it's a bad idea if we go get these kids. And Jeffrey Lewis, who plays Carter, he disagrees. He wants to try and help them.
She's even though she's saying it's a bad idea, she's objecting on moral grounds because they want to kill these people and take their blood to make serum.
Right.
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 And she's against that.
Yeah, she is. And
Yes.
she has a really good part in this film too, because even though she's going down, she's going down this road as far as turning, she doesn't lose her morality. She actually protects Sam by injecting her with what is it, sodium benthol or something like that.
Something like that. Something like that.
Just so she looks like she's dead, so that they wouldn't try and bleed her dry. So, but she's just slowly going down the tubes, and she's still a moral person, which is very, very cool that they wrote her that way, because Mary Warrenoff's characters usually are a little bit more on the darker side.
She's still kind of dark here. I mean, she's with the think tank.
Well, she is with the think tank, but Jeffrey Lewis is the crazy one. Carter.
I told her you got crabs. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, baby.
Philo. Sorry.
So who played Willie? Ivan E. Roth.
Yeah, just a bit part.
What else has he done?
Nothing real. Night of the Creeps, he was like one of the zombies.
Man, last thing he did was Ride Me in 1994.
He played a lot of zombies.
He played a mummy in Tales from the Crypt. Crack Me Up, Love Great. Yeah, he was in Night of the Creeps. He was a psycho zombie.
I like Jeffrey Lewis. My favorite line of his in the whole film is, "What's that? Someone doesn't believe in Santa Claus?" Creepiest fucking line ever. That delivery, that's like, I almost want that on my phone. Just to say, "What's that? Someone doesn't believe in Santa Claus?"
This is Juliette Lewis's dad.
Uh-huh.
I didn't know that for the longest time.
Yeah. They go to save Hector, and Sam go to save Reg from the think tank people, and there's also these two kids there as well that they're going to drain of the blood, and the two nurses that are gleefully prepping these kids to kill their brain functions and suck their blood dry. They're telling them, like, "Oh, you're going to go meet Santa Claus and live in the North Pole with him when you wake up for the rest of your life." My favorite line of the whole film is when she looks in the door, and you hear the girl, they're trying to make him breathe the laughing gas, and you just hear the little girl, "I don't know, my mother, my parents told me to never breathe anything from strangers." Your parents never told you that. That is the most bizarre thing to tell a child.
Don't breathe anything
from strangers. What? It's like it's such a great line. Because it's almost not funny.
Well, it doesn't make any sense.
That's why it's great. It's like if you're not paying attention, you almost miss that.
That's right.
And also waiting, Gone to See Santa. I like as visiting Santa or going to see Santa.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Man, Mary Warrenoff's been in a ton of stuff.
That's right, because she's fucking awesome.
Calamity Jane. Death
Also
Race
an artist,
2000.
and was also with she was also a writer.
Warhol.
And she also worked with Warhol.
Yeah.
She was with the Warhol family.
That's pretty cool.
She's the shit.
She was in a movie in 2012. Her last credit is Attack of the 50-Foot Cheerleader, where she played house mother.
Mm-hmm.
She's been in a ton of television, too.
I mean, Night of the Comet's a great little end of the world film.
Oh, yeah.
It reminds you of a lot of other ones, like there's that one with there's like the fish, the man, and the devil, something like that. The
Fish, the Man, and the Devil.
It's something and the devil. Harry Belafonte's in it. It's three things, and the last one's the devil. I can't think of it right now. It's something and the devil. And it's Harry Belafonte is the only guy on Earth, and he meets this girl, and then a third guy shows up and blows everything to hell, which that's always what happens. Also, Quiet Earth, same kind of premise. You've seen Quiet Earth before.
Quiet Earth. Is that the one with the full frontal nudity?
Yes, that's where the guy kills himself and,
Yeah.
and he survives the apocalypse. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
We talked about that when we did our Valentine's Day special,
Oh yeah, the full frontal Valentine's
Yes,
Day. Best
yes.
Valentine's Day ever.
episode 12.
All male full frontal.
I think that was episode 12.
Yeah, it was male full frontal, not female.
Correct.
Right, and the only ones we'd seen.
Yeah.
It was. Well, I don't say it like that. It was like, yeah.
Oh yeah.
It was just. It was almost like a confessional episode. But for me, I've always felt that Night of the Comet was a kind of a remake / ripoff of Day of the Triffids.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Which is a very similar plot. There is a comet flying over that everybody's looking forward to seeing, but in Day of the Triffids, anyone who's looking at the comet when it goes over goes blind.
The world, the flesh, and the devil.
The world, the flesh, and the devil. Thank you. Anyone watching goes blind when the comet goes over, and then the comet makes most of the population blind, and it creates 10-foot tall killer daffodils.
Oh really?
Yeah, you never saw Day of the Triffids?
No.
Oh, best line of the film is like there's a radio announcer, and I'm paraphrasing slightly, but this is really what he says. Is like, if you see a 10-foot flower walking down the middle of the street, do not approach. It's like, can do. Yeah. It's a cute little film.
Oh yeah.
I actually just got a copy of the book it's based on, but I haven't read it.
Oh really?
Yeah, the book's not called Day of the Triffids, though. It's called something else.
So I just got
But I've
texted
always-
a
what?
picture of some woman's finger in my wife's nose. She looks like she's in a lot of pain.
Also, on the Facebook page, I was doing some screenshots for our Tumblr, and I as is like popular now, sometimes I like to take pictures of the screenshots with the subtitles, and sometimes the subtitles they describe what's happening instead of the actual dialogue.
Oh really?
And so I put a couple up on Facebook that I giggled at, and I shouldn't have because it's very juvenile. Well, during the scene where they're shooting the Mac 10s at the car, when she racks back the chamber on the Mac 10, the first time she does it, the subtitle beneath it in brackets was cocking. I was like, oh, that's unfortunate. And then right after that, it's like just cocks. It's like, okay, good.
Cocks.
Screenshot. I need that.
Nice.
I couldn't help it. I was like, that was a must.
Definitely.
But all juvenile humor aside, I mean the film for the ultra low budget, the film is very well shot. It doesn't feel amateurish at all, and it doesn't really pull too. I mean, you get some of that typical horror film stuff, like near the end when they're in the think tank bunker. There's a lot of smoke and backlighting. So, all right, maybe there's a bit too much of this going on. But
yeah, well, it suffers from the 80s-itis. It just the low budget and the TV-esque type of filmmaking. So,
but not horribly so. Not as bad as like
definitely
watching.
Not. It
Yeah,
definitely
it's not as bad
had. It definitely has that movie budget feel to it, and it has very little of that TV movie feel to it. But not a lot of films can escape that from the 80s.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. It kind of successfully does that to an extent. I like watch Savage Season, not Savage Season.
Savage Streets.
Savage Streets.
Savage Streets. Yeah, it feels like a TV movie.
It feels like a bad low budget movie.
Yeah.
Right, but this doesn't have that. This feels like it feels like a studio production, even though it's not.
It does.
And a lot of that is just, I think, from the economic way it shoots certain scenes. There's a stylized feeling to it, almost like a comic book panel feel in some areas. So when it occasionally laps into your typical 80s horror film tropes, like the double fucking dream sequence and the smoke at the end, the fog and shit, it's almost like an afterthought. Like you give it that because there's so much else going on. And when I say so much else going on, it really is kind of a slow film. It never occurred to me until I rewatched it that Hector meets these girls, then leaves the next morning, and then when he comes back, he's risking his life to save them.
Yeah.
It's like they really don't get to know each other that well before he throws himself into hero status. Things kind of move quickly in the movie.
Yeah, no, they really do. I mean, well, hey, when you're promised Texas, you come back.
Yeah, I mean, the whole film probably takes place in a 48-hour time period.
That's probably accurate.
It's like they spend the one night when the comet hits, the next night when they stay with Hector and Hector doesn't take a pass at her, and then the third night when they rescue him. So it's like 3 days. It's like
36 hours. Even Mary, I think Mary Warrenoff even said that. Didn't she say in 36 hours will be dust? So,
well, but she's saying, yeah, but I mean she's estimating. I don't know if they're actually.
Well, no. Well, what I'm getting at is you're right. It's an extremely short period of time. Even if it's more than 48 hours, it's not more than 3 or 4 days tops.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Well,
yeah, I'd say 72 hours, like almost round the clock, and it's again economic. They don't spend a lot of time. They don't drag shit out. But they managed to get a lot in there, and it feels like you're sitting through this long story, when in actuality you're not. I think that's a credit to the filmmakers, writing and otherwise. Speaking of the writing of the film, one interesting thing I found that I think I'm assuming it's true, is that the whole thing with DMK.
Right.
At the beginning, she's playing video games instead of working because she's a horrible employee. And she's pissed off because DMK had his name on instead of her.
Right.
Like she had her initials for all of the high scores, but somebody had erased one of them.
Every high score you could get in a screen's worth was her name.
But he took the 6th spot. And she was pissed.
Yes, she was.
Apparently, that was not originally meant to be a setup.
Oh, really?
But everybody on set and involved with the film kept asking them about it while they were filming. And so it got to the point, okay, well, now I have to put something in, because obviously everyone's going to be asking the same thing when they see the film. So that ending with him wasn't really intentionally done. It was just in the script just to show the character tenacity. And then later on, it's like, well, all right, I've started something and I have to finish it. And I like that, because that's the evolution of a screenplay, of a story, where you add things you don't even realize how important they are.
Right.
And it's hard. It's hard to watch this film and think that it wasn't done intentionally, like that it wasn't like set up from the beginning. But I like that.
Yeah. Mark Popple is the guy that plays DMK, or Danny Mason Keenan. And he looked more familiar than he actually is. He had a very recognizable face. He
looks like that kind of like beach bum 80s guy. He almost reminds me of is the lead from Space Camp.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
He's got that look about him. Just that kind of like not traditionally attractive, but kind of pleasant, easygoing blonde with the like the if not braces, the appearance of braces. That weird kind of
sure
like the Anthony Michael Hall, but not as geeky.
Well, yeah, like the kid that they rescue, that's like Anthony Michael Hall's
that's Anthony Michael Hall, yeah.
Ugly cousin.
Yeah, exactly. They were so casting the type in those days. It's not even funny. It's like it's the same guy in every film. No, they just all look alike.
I'm like, for a split second, and I knew it wasn't him, but I'm like, wow, it kind of looks like
Rusty?
Anthony Michael Hall. It's like Rusty, but it's like, oh man, that's like his really ugly cousin. But yeah, he stopped acting in 1997. According to IMDb, he's still alive.
Wow, good for him.
Yeah, good for him.
As we come to the end of the movie, Night of the Comet, I do have to mention that with all the 80s shit in this film, of course it ends with your typical 80s soft ballad.
Oh, of course.
It wasn't as good as like the ones written. It wasn't written for the movie though. I'm like listening to the lyrics. I love like the Lethal Weapon ones.
Oh right.
Over the top. They wrote as one just for. I love it when they actually write it for the film. It's always the action films though. I guess horror films don't get it.
No,
but I love those
do.
80s. What?
They never do.
Yeah, but I love yeah, I guess. But I just love those 80s action film power ballads at the end credits. Just fucking. I want to get like a whole collection of those. But I mean that's I don't have much else. I mean I had my favorite lines from the film. there, I think the film withstands the test of time, due partly to how well it was done. I think for a low budget film, it's done very well.
Definitely.
And I think they handle a meager script with a limited cast exceptionally well.
Mm-hmm.
And when you got Mary Warnoff in it, you can't go fucking wrong. As long as you're not Ty West.
Fucking Ty West.
Night of the Comet, currently rated at 6.4.
Yes.
Unacceptable. Way too low.
Yeah. 7.
I agree. I think this film deserves a 7 because it's not average. I think it actually does more with less. And it's really easy to do a bad zombie film or a bad apocalypse film. And this film, I thought, does a very good job.
I think
I'd
so,
be willing
too.
to defend it on several levels.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't go higher than 7, though. And you know what? The film only has itself and its dream sequences to blame.
No dream sequence, you'd go 8?
Probably not, but that's definitely a nail in the coffin for me against even thinking about it.
Okay. I'm good with 7.
All right, 7 it is. Pretty across the board, demographics-wise. Highest rating is
12,000 votes, which is kind of high for a film like this.
now 12,000 votes. There are only 12 votes by. There are only 6 votes by people under the age of 18.
They seem to like it, though.
Yeah, 6.8 and 7 across the board. Everybody's between 6 and 7. There's no real spike. And IMDb staff is actually one of the highest at 7.5. So, all right, they win one.
Yeah, they got one right.
Yeah.
So are we done? We good to go?
I think we're done.
Oh, cool. Let's go ahead and end this biatch.
All right.
Oh, yeah. Yeah? Okay. What is it, episode 213 of our show, where we tried to successfully, however you want to say it, Night of the Comet. You can go to our website at Moviesucktastic.com. You can download all the shows there. You can listen to the show there. You can tune in live every Thursday at 8 o'clock. You can leave us voicemail. 908-514-4470. If you want to email us, themovieguys at Moviesucktastic.com. You can go to iTunes and you can download the show there as well, or you can just listen to it right from there. You can go to our Facebook page at facebook.com/Moviesucktastic. You can also go to our Tumblr page at Moviesucktastic.tumblr.com, and you can get the free Android app for your phone or tablet. 100% free. Everything I said is in there, and it's always updated as well. And if you want, you can do a simple Google search or a browser or a search engine search for us. We come up everywhere. Just do a search for Moviesucktastic, and that about does it. I didn't do that real well this week.
You're already on vacation. You're phoning it in.
I am. I really am on vacation. It's hot down here. I'm tired. My wife is getting a nose piercing that I don't want her to get. Yeah, I'm just annoyed all around.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I really am. Anyhow, do you have any words of wisdom?
Yes. Happy birthday, Joey.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
How old are you now?
The big 4-0.
Shut up.
I'm the big 4-0. Yes.
Yes, you are.
I have a wife that thinks she's the big 2-0.
Compared to you, she is.
Yeah, well. I don't know.
I'm sorry.
The nose
Anyway,
piercing. So stupid.
I brought everything down. Oh, man.
Yeah, that's okay. Hey. Anyway. All right, everyone. We'll talk to you next week.
Bye.